All right, if you're a Led Zeppelin fan, I have something I think you're really going to enjoy. So what this is this is a concert review. Now, what is interesting about this one is this is a concert they did in Canada about a month before Led Zeppelin IV was released. So they were on tour. Led Zeppelin IV was not out yet, and they played this particular show in Canada. And the person that did the review on the show was a little bit meh about the show. And so, especially if you're a Led Zeppelin fan, I think you'll enjoy this because, of course, they reference a lot of different things. And keeping in mind also, this is written in 1971. This is 53 years ago. Amazing thinking about that. And so anyway, and it's a review about this particular concert that they played. And if you saw them, I know we have a lot of people that watch this channel that actually saw them on some of these tours. And it's so interesting reading your experiences on this stuff. So if you happened to have a similar experience to what is written in this article, I'd love to hear about it. As with all the people that leave comments on these videos, I see so many people responding to each other and talking about these things. Anyway, I love reading this stuff and listening to what you have to say about it. Because for me, again, so many of these things that we talk about, especially with Led Zeppelin, I mean, it was way before when this was written, I was, 2, maybe, that point? So anyway, it's a little before my time, but by the time I discovered them, I love this stuff. Okay, The Tangible Sound of Led Zeppelin is the name of the title of the article. It was put out in the Spectator, Hamilton Spectator. Looks like this is in Toronto, September 7th, 1971. The Tangible Sound of Led Zeppelin. Toronto, Led Zeppelin is sound. Pure, thick, tangible sound. It hits your whole body, and you wonder how you're going to cope with that much volume and texture all at once. No warm-up group, just a few records, a cold audience. No introduction, just Robert Plant calling, "Good evening," a game he'll play all night, and not getting much response. Saturday night at Maple Leaf Gardens should mean a hockey game. It's no place for a rock concert. The stage is awkwardly set at one end, 7 feet off the cement, a long way from those people sitting up in the blues, grays, and greens. It's a long way because Led Zeppelin is something happening in the heads of Jimmy Page, Robert Plant, John Paul Jones, and John Henry Bonham. When the music comes together, the four draw closer together physically. John Paul Jones is already tightly positioned beside drummer John Henry Bonham. By the way, that's interesting because every time I've ever seen clips of them in concert, they are really, the stage is not an elaborate thing. They really are just right next to each other on that stage. And anyway, if you ever saw them in concert, was it kind of always like that? I'm assuming so, but that is kind of interesting observation here. Jimmy Page, who plays most of the time in center stage, moves in on the side. Robert Plant turns his back on the audience, his stylized movements forgotten as the sound takes his body and his voice becomes a fourth instrument that closes the right musical circle. If there's one thing Led Zeppelin does well, it's building to a musical climax. The music is very intricate, rising slowly, going back down, moving up again in great slow rushes that burst suddenly into deep, pure, throbbing sound. But that's all they do. Admittedly, they do it well enough to break through the sheer physical barriers of playing the Gardens, and well enough to take 17,000 people and stand them on their feet for the last hour of the concert, but there really isn't anything else. There is one quieter segment when Page plays an acoustic guitar and Jones backs him with an electric mandolin. They do 3 songs, one of them Going to California from their new album, which will be released next month. Plant here proves that he can articulate. In these ballads, he can get through the first few lines, but his voice is too raucous and loud for the kind of music Page and Jones are playing. That's actually really, really interesting to hear that. By the way, maybe that was just in the concert, but I mean, you listen to, just the recording example, for example, of Going to California. I mean, it's just beautiful. His voice is amazing in there. And maybe there was something happening in the live stuff that I don't understand, but his voice is so great, and in my opinion, is so great in that stuff. Let's see here. Get through those few lines, raucous. Okay. On a hard-driving rock number, Plant is very good. There's nothing pretty about his voice. He shouts and screams, and he's at his best when he uses his voice as an instrument. You look around to see what instrument is soloing, and you find Plant with his head thrown back and the handheld microphone close to his mouth. Words are noises shouted by Plant, and if they have any meaning, you'd have to read the sheets to find out what it is. Plant is billed as a sex symbol as well as a singer, but his sexuality is too remote from the audience for the term sex symbol to fit. In his low-cut blue jeans and, scrolling to the top of the column, and white embroidered black bolero, he moves like a stripper. Many of his movements are the practiced automatic motions one finds in a stripper. They are accepted sexual movements that are not real because they have nothing to do with how people move sexually. They are ritualistic, symbolic, but artificial. But Plant has another set of movements that are almost tribal. He bends at the waist, his feet drumming the stage floor. Then he straightens to throw his tangled blonde hair back down to his waist. Most of the time he uses a handheld microphone, but occasionally he rests it on a tall stand. Then he uses the stand like a chrome spear, gesturing like a warrior. I think it is so interesting that they spend so much time talking about the presence of Robert Plant on stage. And truly, honestly, that is part of the concert experience, is watching these people and experiencing what they're presenting on stage. And Robert Plant, I mean, he did whatever it was. There was something about his presence, the way he dressed, the way he moved, all that stuff that just was, it was just, there was something amazing about it. I don't even know what you'd say or how you'd put your finger on it, but he really did have some sort of unusual charisma. And I've only seen, things you find on YouTube, plus the song remains the same, but you can see it there. You can see it there. So anyway, I'd love to get your feedback on that as well. But Led Zeppelin pivots on the strings of Jimmy Page's guitar. It takes a while to shift focus from the flamboyant Plant to the subtle Page, who's half hidden away behind long black hair and a bushy black beard. Mostly he holds the guitar, be it 6 or 12 string, acoustic or electric, low over his groin, crouching over it and sending out the intense, hearty sound that is Led Zeppelin. And by the way, I don't know if you ever noticed this before, but he, when he's playing his guitars, especially, it seems like that Les Paul, he's got that thing down at his knees. It is so hard to play a guitar like that. But that was kind of his thing. That's how he played. That's what he looked like. But after an intense hour and a half build-up, it's drummer John Henry Bonham who finally reaches through to the audience. In a 15-minute solo of Moby Dick, he throws away his sticks and uses his hands and a set of bongos to bring the audience to a standing ovation. It takes until the second encore for the audience to calm down. John Paul Jones plays the organ in the only really pretty and gentle moment in the whole concert. But Led Zeppelin isn't a pretty and gentle sound. It's just raw, loud sound, often more cacophonous than musical. Anyway, and that's the end of the article. Anyway, I'd love to get your feedback on that. What did you think of that? What they had to say about that? Your experiences with Led Zeppelin, the music, and having heard recordings of them in concert and seen what exists today of them in concert. Do you relate to any of this stuff? And those of you that saw them, I know a lot of you have, does any of this stuff remind you of anything? Is there anything reminiscent here? Does this trigger any memories? I'd love to hear about that stuff. Anyway, as always, please follow the channel, like the video. Love to get all of your feedback about these things. And it's so much fun reading all the comments that people make about this stuff. And so anyway, with that, have yourself a fantastic day.